Welcome to Out of the Box. My guest today is an incredible human being. He grew up under intense pressure, high expectations, constant comparison, and a feeling of never truly being accepted within his own family. There was competition created at home, standards that were hard to reach. And even though he had access to therapy and support, there was never a real acceptance of who he truly was. At 17, he made a courageous decision. He left home to build his own life. And along the way, life brought him an angel, an elderly neighbor with a powerful library, where he immersed himself in knowledge, health, healing, Chinese medicine. He started to understand himself piece by piece. At 20s, he chose to seek his own answer. He went after a diagnosis, and everything finally started to make sense. He's autistic. Today, he's a high-level athlete, a nutritionist, a biohacker, a brilliant mind with a unique way of seeing and explaining the world, and has 500,000 of followers. This conversation is deep, real, and powerful, and you don't want to miss it.
I used to wake up, I wanted to find my way.
Welcome, TonTon. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. Thank you so much because, your lifestyle has a lot to do with my lifestyle. So actually, I was really waiting forward for this interview. Thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure, and let's talk.
Let's talk. The first thing I know you know me a little bit,
Yeah.
but I'm an atypical mom too. I have an autistic daughter, level
Okay.
2. She's 15. I have another one with diabetes type 1, and I am a ADHD. So we have a lot of things in my house, and I think that we're gonna learn a lot from you and everyone as well. So the first thing I would like to know is about your childhood a little bit, because you were diagnosed on your 20s, right? And why it took so long for you to decide to evaluate yourself. How was TonTon on your early days like a child?
It was very difficult because my family kind of didn't accept. So the good thing was that my family was a rich family and I did lots of therapies. So I remember when I was 5 or 6, I'm the fourth of 5 brothers. So I remember that around 5 or 6 years old, my parents took me to another doctor. And back at the time, in my childhood, was very common to go to a psychiatrist, a psychologist, um, different kind of physiotherapy and this kind of things. So I always question myself, why just me? Why my sisters or my brothers didn't go to this kind of therapies as well? So I know that something was, I can say wrong, but different.
Different. Yeah.
Different. I knew that something was different back the time, and I didn't know why. When I entered the school like a little late. I think, yeah, more than 7 years old. I don't know why as well, but it was very difficult for me because I remember my teammates was I think I had 10 boys and 10 sisters in the physical education, and
Uh-huh.
in the classes was a very big and excellent school. And I remember that I was always the last one in everything, physical, mental activities. I was always the last one to finish some homework or some task or anything. And that kind of bothered me at the time because my father, who is a very different person. Maybe my father is autistic. Actually, three doctors already said that my father is, but my father
Doesn't accept.
don't accept. And one of my sister, maybe ADHD for sure, and maybe autistic also. But I was the different one. And my father put me and my youngest brother, almost the same age, with lots of competition. So even with my brother was very difficult for me, and until my 20 something. So I had lots of difficulties in every single area, uh, with except in computer things, because I have like hyper
A
focus
hyper focus, yes.
in computer and computer graphics, games, and everything. So I remember around I think my fifth birthday,
Mm-hmm.
my father bought a computer for me, and then I spent like hours and hours in front of the computer. It was cool for me because I didn't know how to communicate and socialize with other people. But at the same time, it was not so good because sometimes I spent like 12, 13, 14 hours without any drinking, no water, no food. And my father worked a lot, and my mother as well. So I spent all the time alone
The
in the
computer.
computer, maybe with like some babysitter or maybe with the older brother, but they didn't bother me, so I spent lots of times in the computer. I started working very young, like 10 or 11 years old,
Okay.
uh,
On your
to make,
computer.
yeah, in the computer to make some money, doing websites and this kind of thing.
Oh,
So that
nice.
was like my relief from the outside world. So imagine my
Nice.
childhood was like I have the physical world, like everything is very difficult, and I can get friends and this kind of things. And even with my brothers and sister wasn't easy. And my mother limited at the time I spent with video games.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was working with computer, my mom said, "No, it's okay. It's work and it's okay." And I started to make some money doing some kind of online things like websites and this kind of things, and it was my relief. And also at the time in my childhood, my father put me like in basketball, volleyball, lots of sports.
Yeah.
And it's very curious because I didn't get along with other people in the sports, but when I started swimming, it's just
Yeah.
you. It's very easy. And I don't know how to explain, but when at the time I got in the pool, it was like
I
another
I saw your
another world.
interview. You
No, no.
saying that because you were swimming and it was just yourself, you
Yeah.
became more autistic, more in your own world.
Yeah, yeah. For me, I wasn't autistic at the time because I never heard it
Had a
about it.
diagnosis, yes.
Yeah, but I knew I was different and different from most of the autistic child. I
Did
didn't
you?
want to socialize. I
But did you
didn't want
miss?
to be part of it.
You didn't want, but deep on your heart, did you miss to have more friends, to be more social, or no? This was something that was too much for you.
It was too much for me. Maybe
On
like
your teenager days,
yeah, but like once or twice a year, maybe I wanted to be a part of a group. For example, I was always with hyper focus in music, most of
Yes.
rock and heavy metal,
Oh,
because
nice.
of the influence of my oldest brother, who
Uh-huh.
was in rock, and my youngest sister that was in punk rock. So
Oh,
I
nice.
always was very addicted with music. I remember listening to Iron Maiden with 5 or 4 years old, and it was very good for me because it calmed me a lot. And I start to learn English maybe
Because
before
of the music.
Portuguese,
Oh,
because of
really?
the music.
You
Yeah,
know, you know, I'm a heavy metal person. I always had a
yeah,
metal band. But
yeah,
my daughter that is autistic, she loves it. I brought her to the Kiss concert and she had a blast. She discovered herself like a metal girl. I think maybe because of the guitars and I don't know, metal just for me to just change my life when I
yeah.
started
Me
listening,
too.
right? And I don't know if I'm autistic, I don't think so, but the ADHD and the music and the heavy metal gave me something. I said, with 12 years old, I know what I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be a guitarist, you know, because maybe, I don't know, you know, when we are different, right? We don't fit on the box. People tend make us feel frustrated that we're not capable to do things. So when you find something that you're really into and really good on it, you find your world and then you become real good on that, right?
Yeah.
So on your 20th, you were diagnosed. You yourself look for like
Yeah.
to
So
evaluate
I
evaluation.
yeah, exactly. I remember to started like some medicine, some drugs prescription by the psychiatry. Like I don't know the precise age, but I was like 10 or 11 years old, and with my 17 maybe, after I started to travel a lot to study abroad. It was very good actually for me, the teens, because I study a lot.
For
uh,
ADHD, you took a
yeah,
medicine for ADHD.
yeah, and also for a kind of depression, but the doctor at the time said that it was a drug for depression, but in my case was because I have lots of different things like OCD and
Yes.
different things, and it was like a medicine for this. And with like 20, 21, 22 maybe, I started myself to study about autism, ADHD, and lots of different things. And I was at the time studying at the college, I think business administration and information technology. But I was very interested in the in health in general,
Yeah.
and I looked for a doctor, I think 2021, and the doctor said should do lots of tests. And after I think 3 or 4 meetings with the doctor, he diagnosed me with autism and ADHD and lots of other things,
Comorbidity.
immune
But
disease and lots of.
yeah, let me ask you something before that, because you know, I a lot of things that you told me now, I see myself with my 15 years old teenager here doing the same thing. Thanks God she accepted she was autistic and we diagnosed her like with 6 years old. So we had all the therapies and everything that she needs. But she went through depression last year, and I never wanted to give medicine to her. Me and my husband, we're very like healthy, and we. I want to ask you, did you regret any time of your life about taking medicines? Do you still taking those? I would like to know your experience with this, please.
So I started around 10 or 11 years old. Wasn't my choice at the time. It was the prescription of the doctor, and my mother and father just agreed with it. And then with my 17s, maybe 16, I started to have lots of side effects and lots of problems with sleep and this kind of thing. And I remember that they changed the doctor, and we tried at the time a new kind of drug, and it wasn't good as well. And then until 2011, I took a lot of medicines. So one for better sleep, one to get up in the morning, another to have more focus. And when I was here in Portugal in 2011, I had lots of side effects. And at the time, I was studying nutrition. And I said to myself, I can't do this anymore. It's impossible. I already tried lots of medicines, lots of drugs,
Uh-huh.
and different doctors
Yeah.
and different specialties. And I started to studying myself. So it was the first time that I heard about biohacking, because it was an unusual term at the time in the health, but actually in the information technology wasn't so rare. It was kind
Okay,
of
so I have a question for you, TonTon.
of course.
When I was reading about that you are a biohacker, I was like, what is a biohacker? And then I asked my husband, because we are athletes, we do diet, we have a gym. And I said, do you know what a biohacker is? He said, no. So please explain to us what is, now I know because I read about it, but explain for everyone, what is a biohacker?
So imagine that every single person in the world, I don't know, like 8 billion person, every single person, even twins, are different.
Yeah.
Fingerprint, they are different. Every single person are different. Even if you meet another girl with the same age as your daughter, with the same kind of
Difference.
conditions, they are different. So biohacking is about studying your own biology.
Uh-huh.
So imagine my biology maybe can be similar as my brother, for example, but it's unique. So when we study biohacking, is about to hack yourself. The first thing that a biohacker does is to start studying yourself. Then, if a biohacker is like a health professional like me, then we can apply this to the other persons, but kind of like a consultation to help you find yourself. But this is not just about like using some machine, some gadgets
Yeah.
like this bracelet. It's
Uh-huh.
not just about different water, is everything. So when I'm going to sleep, for example, I have like different routines that I can do to sleep better. And I tried lots of things, and I know like 90% of the time what I can do to sleep better, and what I can do in the next morning to go training and put more weights in the deadlift, for example. So the biohacking, it's a movement, it's a health style,
Yeah.
is like a unique thing that can put lots of things together. For example, we can do essential oils, we can do gadgets, we can do different types of colors, stimulations, different kind of supplements,
But
different
how do
kind
you
of
test each person? Do you See
We
how,
do a
what
lot of
works.
tests. Yeah, we do a lot of tests. First, we do blood tests,
Blood
then
tests.
we do genetical tests,
Uh-huh.
then we do like evaluation with like an interview, and then after like these three steps, we go
Yeah.
to a consultation with the person, and then the person say the problems and the symptoms and everything, and then with everything together we can say, oh, so for you maybe we can use this or that. Oh, have you tried this essential oil, rosemary, for example? Oh, it's not for me, I don't like the smell of rosemary. So we can try this other essential oil that is similar, have almost the same frequency of rosemary, that you can use for focus, for example. So it's not about the common sense of medicine of health that you have a symptom and you
Yeah.
treat the symptom. Biohacking is very different. We do lots of investigations. Sometimes we spend like 2 months just investigating to assess where is the symptom starting. So if you had like a headache and you don't treat it, maybe in 2, 3, 4 years, you will have a migraine. But the problem is not the migraine or not the headache. Why the headache started? So maybe you have a leaky gut. But why you have a leaky gut?
Yeah.
What did triggered your intestines to have a leaky gut? So
You go on the root of the
yeah,
problem.
yeah, exactly. It's a perfect word. The root of the everything.
And we come back to the point that no human being is like each other. We are all different. So when you go to Instagram, because Instagram today nowadays, everybody thinks that Instagram is a doctor or is a
Yeah,
psychologist, ChatGPT.
yeah,
We tend to ask everything for them, but there's no one thing that works the same for everyone, right? And
exactly.
yes, um, you can talk a little bit more about that, but I would like to know how the sports too became part of your life. How you became like a physiculturist, and nowadays you do high rocks, right?
Yeah. So the main thing about biohacking is that we have to understand that we can't put our health in the hands of another person. I understand that the way of the health system
Mhm.
work, especially in North America, South America, and even
Okay.
here in Europe, people have some problem, have some symptom, and go to the doctor. And maybe if you want to lose weight, you go to the nutritionist, but biohacking is also about prevention. So the first thing you have to know is that how your body works, because we don't control almost anything. I don't know if it's going to rain tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to have like snow because here is winter. I can't control these things. I can't control even if there is a war, lots of things
Yeah.
right now in the world. So we only have a small control, a little control about our health, what you put in your mouth,
Yeah.
about your thoughts, about your reaction to things. And biohacking is all about this and lots of prevention. So go to a doctor, go to a nutritionist to ask for some tests, some exams, just to see how is your health. Do like a complete 30, 40 blood tests just to see how is your health inside and of course outside as well. So the nails, the skin, the teeth, the hair, how is the things and prevention. So I started this very early. I think I started through listen to some audiobooks and reading to books about health with my 17, 18. And I did a huge change at my life because I was a very problematic child with anything with food. So I had problems at the time with the smell, the taste, the texture. So I was very selective about the food, and I was with a very bad nutrition, terrible blood tests. I remember my first blood test was officially like 17 or 18, and the doctor said that was terrible for my age. And then I just triggered some button in me that I have to start changing my life and prevention. So the main thing about biohacking is prevention as well, and to know yourself. And about the sports.
But before we go to the sports, let me just ask you something.
Yeah.
But you just came to try to know more about yourself and do biohacking after the diagnosis, or no? What the diagnosis brought for you to help you?
Yeah, since I always had some feeling, and this feeling started very, very young. I was like 5, as I said, but this feeling started to grow up a lot when I was a teenager. So 13,
That you were different.
14, that I was different, and I had certain for sure that something was not as was meant to be with my health. So I knew that my mind was different, that the way I thought about things was not in the common way. I didn't feel myself at the time like I'm a sick person or something like this, but I did know that my mind was different. But when I was a teenager, I also knew for sure that I had some problem with my body because I was terrible with coordinating things. I tried to play some instruments, every single instrument actually. I did lots of private classes and I was terrible. So I knew that I had some problems with my body, and I knew that maybe I can had like a disease or something. And years after, I discovered autoimmune disease as well. And with my 17, maybe I had a very, very old neighbor, actually a elderly guy. I called him at the time elder because he was very, very, he was very amazing, smart, intelligent.
Yeah.
I think I was like 17 and he was like 78, 79, almost 80 years old.
Yeah.
And he had a huge library at his home. And sometimes he just borrows for me some books. And I started to studying traditional Chinese medicine, some special books. Um, Actually, it was not a printed book. It was written by
Yeah.
hand
Wow.
by some monks from Tibet.
Amazing.
And they talk a lot of nutrition. So
Yeah.
this neighbor traveled a lot when he was younger, and with all these books, I started to know a little bit about health. And it was when I knew for sure that I had to ask for someone to help me, but like within 4 or 5 years, I didn't found at the time nobody that can ask my questions, and all I had at the time was these books and the internet, because I had like email since I'm 7 years old. I
Yeah.
was one of the first at my class in the school to have an email. So I have a computer since my 5 years old. So I have the internet, but at the time the information in the internet was terrible. It was very different from today. Today is also terrible because
Today's too
every
much.
yeah, today is the excess of information.
Yeah.
At the time was the lack of information. So for me, it was very good to have internet and to look to research things. But with the books was kind of easy, and I had this neighbor that I can talk about the book. I just read it, but it was not easy. It was very difficult.
So amazing because you had to, that you were 17 years old, you start taking like, seeing that you really need to take care of your life yourself. 17, a teenager.
Yeah.
Right? Because like as a parent, I try as much as I can with my daughter. It's really hard, like teenager days. And she just want to belong. She want to have friends, and she's like, I don't want to walk with my parents all the time. I want to walk with my friends. I told her, which friends? We have to make friends. We have to call someone. And then it's hard for her to eat well now. And you with 17 years old took this.
Yeah.
This is
And,
amazing.
and also I think because I had some problems with the growing up thing, I didn't remember perfectly, but it was like some problems with my knees, and I have some hormone problem as well. So I was a very fragile child, and more fragile in my teens, and with my 17s I was smaller than my brother and sister, and I was like 50 kilograms.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know in pounds, but I was much, much, much thinner than my brothers, and almost the same weight as my sister.
How tall were you at the time?
At the time, I wasn't tall, but nowadays,
Longer than all of them.
at the time, I was very short. I don't know exactly, five something, but nowadays I think I'm 6'1".
Very tall.
I don't know the chart to convert perfectly.
Yeah, I never know
because
it too well.
here in Europe you use like 184, 185 centimeters, but I think in USA I'm 6'1" or 6'15", like 6'1". I'm kind of for here in Portugal I'm very tall. For Brazil, I'm kind of tall, and depending of the state in USA, I'm kind of medium tall.
Yeah, if you go to Holland, you're gonna be short.
Yeah, maybe 184 is very common there.
Anton, it's amazing how you know how successful you are today, what you made with your body, your health, how you became such a strong person, and you're teaching so many people around the world now. And I'm so glad that you are here with me today because I'm learning a lot, especially about biohacking. My husband, for sure, he's gonna do this now. He's like very focused on nutrition and everything. And let's go a little bit to the sports because I know you have time too. You have another
Yeah,
thing. Tell me a little bit about the high rocks. What is the difference by high rocks and CrossFit that you're doing today? The high rocks.
Yeah, so I started doing sports very young. It was a very good thing that my father always stimulated me. It's very curious because all of my brothers and sister was doing some sports in the childhood, and I think all my brothers and sisters was doing some competitive sport with teenagers. And me as well in the swimming. I did some championships, and I was not the best one, but I was kind of, I think, second or third
But you
place.
like the competition because the competition makes your dopamine beam.
Yeah. And my brothers and sisters, they were very, very good athletes. My oldest brother passed away many, many years ago, and he's still the most amazing time record with horse sports. So he did different sports with horses and other sports. And my youngest brother was training to be a professional in soccer. And my sister in the middle was also doing, I don't remember, other sports. And the sister was doing some artistic things. And me, I was doing the swimming. So until my 17, 18 birthday, I was doing swimming. And with 18 years old, I was already living alone. It was very difficult, but I kind of like the challenge. So it was difficult, but at the same time, it was good. So I don't remember. I think with my 15 years old, I started to live alone. I have to go to a special place to my parents sign an authorization for me to live alone with 15 years old. I almost got my place burned down like 2 or 3 times. Yeah, because I forgot the oven.
I've
Turned
done this three
on.
times too.
Yeah. It was very challenging. And then with my 18 years old, I took my driver's license and I started to go to a special gym to do martial arts. Because since I started to reading these books that my neighbor borrowed me, I studied traditional Chinese medicine, and I was always looking for things about Chinese medicine and Chinese culture. At the time, Kung Fu was very hyper focused on me because Bruce Lee movies.
Yeah, very
I
nice.
saw lots of times
You
the
know, that
Bruce
was my
Lee.
favorite one. I always wanted to do Kung Fu because Bruce Lee as well.
Yeah, me
But
as
then I
well.
tried Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, me as well. So I did like 5 years of Kung Fu, and I also tried judo and maybe a little of boxing.
Yeah.
And then with my 22, maybe with the official diagnosis of autism, I started to put in some mess because I was very preoccupied that with my 21 years old that I will die a virgin, because with my 20 years old I never at the time even kissed a girl in the cheek. So imagine like having like a girlfriend.
How
So
did
at
you
the time,
find Andressa, your beauty queen?
yeah, after my diagnosis, it was like my north. So I know where to go right now. I felt a little sorry for myself, and I was in a victim's
A
place
little
for
sorry
some.
because of the diagnosis or because you
Yeah,
had
because
before?
of the diagnosis. Yeah, and I didn't tell anybody. I think I put this in a secret.
Yeah.
I think only the doctor and the psychology at the time knew about the diagnosis. So nobody in my family, nobody, even my first, second, and third girlfriend
Didn't tell
even
them.
didn't know about it. So people said at the time that I was different, that I was a little crazy, that I was kind of mad, that I yell a lot, that I use a lot of my hands. When I do like some running, that I run in a very funny way, but nobody actually asked me. And with my 22 or 23, I had to choose where I'm going to do with sports because I didn't have so much time because of the college and also because of other courses. And I was having at the time two jobs, an online one and a physical one. And I had to choose a sport. And since I was very thin, I started to doing bodybuilding. I actually started just for putting some mass. And since I'm very dedicated to everything I do, when I started doing some exercises, I started to see other people doing,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, so I have to do this like this or like that. And then I started to go to the internet. At the time, Google was already very easy to find this kind of things. Then I bought the encyclopedia of Arnold Schwarzenegger with the exercises. And then within like 6 months, I already put like 20 pounds.
So that
Like,
became a hyper focus for you.
yeah, it became a hyper focus for me, and it was very good because the gyms at the time wasn't as full as today, and the gyms at the time was like lots of red gyms. It wasn't common to see people just doing for the health,
Yes.
and I started to have lots of friends. And then after my body started to develop it, the girls was asking me out and everything. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was lots of good things, and also I started to feel less insecure about myself, and I started to like to be more courageous and brave to do new things.
Yeah.
And I even started to going to some rock concerts,
Yeah.
sometimes with like the ear protection. But I start to do some rock concerts and even a rave because I also love electronic music. And I'm today like 95, 96 kilograms, so almost I doubled my size of mass.
Amazing.
And until January, I think, no, until February of 2026, I was doing bodybuilding, but with more focus in lifting weight. So I also did bodybuilding competitions, and after having terrible experiences, I tried to do natural bodybuilding. That is my thing, natural bodybuilding. And I did a very good place, I think, in Argentina, second place, and I almost won one championship with lots of other competitions. And with the bodybuilding, it was very difficult for me because of the time and the diet. I don't like to do diet. I just like to eat healthy. And I have like some eating disorders at the time. So I stopped to do bodybuilding because it triggered my eating disorders. And
Yes.
then to do powerlifting, for example, to do a deadlift, you have to be in a age and a weight class. For example, if I'm with 40 years old and I have 95 kilograms, I have other people competing with me with almost the same weight and almost the same age. So powerlifting is more easy to do the diet, and with powerlifting, you can't be too shredded. You have to put lots of
You
weight.
have to eat. Yeah.
Yeah, so I spent like 5 years doing powerlifting. But when I met my wife in 2024, we start to dating and it was everything very fast because I was asking God to have a wife and to have kids and everything. And then I found Andressa, and Andressa is much younger than me. Andressa is in her 29. And Andressa was at the time elite top competition CrossFit. And I did a little of CrossFit in the beginnings in Argentina in 2012, 2011, and I kind of found it cool at the time. But when I met Andressa, CrossFit was too much Olympic gymnasts and this kind of thing, and I don't like this. I like more the cardio and the weightlifting. And Andressa challenged me to do some CrossFit, but I didn't like it, and it was very difficult for me. And then I started to research about Hyrox. And Hyrox is part of the creators of CrossFit, but Hyrox for me is almost a perfect exercise because I love to do cardio and run and everything. If with lots of mass, I can run, and I feel very comfortable running at the tops 5K, 10K, nor more than this. And the exercises in Hyrox are much easier. So you have farms carry that you have to pick up some kettlebells and carry the kettlebells around. And you have to do like some burps, but it's a different burp. It's a burp broad jump. So you do a burp and then a jump, and also the row. I love to row. I have a row at my garage. And ski erg. So I love to do Hyrox because of this. So I'm doing Hyrox right now 3 times a week. I'm doing it's not bodybuilding and powerlifting anymore. It's like a functional strength training. It's the correct term. So I'm doing functional strength training 4 times a week. So Hyrox 3 times, functional strength training 4 times. At least once a week, a 5 or a 10K running, and sometimes some bike. And I almost do every single day at least 1 mile rowing at my garage. So I do lots of exercise. Maybe I spent doing exercise 3 hours every single day. Maybe sometimes after 2 or 3 days, I take 1 day off. It's not a special day like Sundays. It depends of my condition and my recovery. But I started to see that the rest day is very important. So I always, after 2 or 3 days training, I take 1 day off. In the day off, I only do like some walking or maybe a bike at home.
People don't understand that the day off is not to lay down on the couch. You can
No.
to the beach. Yes, we do that.
Yeah. So for me, the main thing is to plan everything. And of course, sometimes I have to get off my comfort zone and to be very uncomfortable. That's why I do the count plunges at least 3 times a week, and the sauna as well. Very high temperature, the sauna. And when I get out to go to a rock concert, as you asked, or a heavy metal, or maybe a congress, I took some supplements and I took some herb medicine to prepare myself and to adjust myself. So within 12 hours, I can adjust myself. But if it's something like very, very fast, like we can go right now to the television and record the interview. So maybe I can get like in trouble and start.
You need flexibility, right?
Yes. I have at least like 1, 2 days or maybe some hours to prepare myself. and then I don't have a social battery. But when I go to these places, I kind of put the persona of TonTon, because Antonio is a very strict person, and Antonio doesn't like to go socializing this kind of thing. But as the time being TonTon as well, I have to play. It's not a character, but I have to play along with other persons, because I always remember I have to pay my house, I have to pay my car, and I love sports car, and it's very expensive, it's not cheap. So to do this and also help people,
You need
I
to put the
have,
TonTon.
yeah, it's not a mask, it's me, but it's me without the other parts of me. So I'm very focused.
I identify myself a lot with this because my birth name is Simone, and I always say there is a Simone and there is a Syang. When I put the Syang is my artist, it's not too much different, but Simone is more. I don't know how to explain, but are two different
Yeah, I
persons.
got it. It's the same for me.
So I really identify with you, and with a lot of things too. I also have a spa in my backyard, plunge. You gotta meet my husband. He's just like you. He has his hyper focus on training and recovering, swimming on the ocean every day.
You guys live in Florida?
We live in California.
Okay.
Whenever you come here, please come for a visit at our gym. We have a jiu-jitsu gym here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we are both black
Which
belts.
city?
What?
Which city?
Torrance, close to Los
Okay.
Angeles. Yes, it's in Los Angeles area.
Okay.
And we are both black belts. I have a project that calls Empathy Emotion that I teach a lot of autistic kids. It's very pretty. I'll
I
show
love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I did some classes with a very close friend of mine, Mario Reis, that is very
Mario
famous
Reis,
in
yeah,
Brazil.
you know Mario.
But the problem for me of jiu-jitsu is that it's very common to have like some problems doing it a lot. And since I'm very focused person, maybe if I go to jiu-jitsu, I started to forgetting doing the other sports that are much more important for me. So I love to watch jiu-jitsu, and I tried sometimes, but it's not a sport for me because sometimes I can't get the physical contact is not so easy for me. Some days it's okay, we can hug and everything, but in the others day, only my wife, even my mother have a problem with this, because my mother always said that it's very difficult to hug me or even give a kiss in the cheek, and kind of 2 or 3 days a week I'm more friendly to the physical contact. I don't know how to explain, but it's not good. It's not a good feeling, and I feel very shy with the physical contact. So sometimes I see a friend of mine and I go and hug my friend and everything is okay. And in the other time, I only do like this.
Yeah, I totally understand, and I think it's amazing that you're sharing this with us because people need to respect and know and respect your space, like my daughter. Sometimes she doesn't want to. She likes, I always, was like yesterday, after spend like an hour coming from Malibu with us in a car, she was totally overwhelmed. She had a burnout at home. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to leave. I don't want to be with you. And she was crying, crying. I was trying to touch her, to hug her. She's like, don't hug me. I said, okay. So I just stand there and I hug her, but I wait. And then later I could hug her a little bit when she calmed down. But yes, I think it's
I
good to
know,
share this with people, how you
I
guys
know
do
that
this.
I know everything that you said because it's very part of my life.
So many things I want to ask you. I don't know, we would be like the whole day here talking about those things. Very interesting. I love it. One thing that about the fasting, right? What breaks a fast? Like, can I have a coffee or water with lemon during the fasting, like in the morning?
The fasting is a part of being a human being. So we do fasting since human is human. We can't deny that fasting, intermittent fasting, it's part of the human being. So when the humans was living in caves,
Yeah.
even before and after discovering fire,
Yeah.
fasting was a common thing. And in the last 100 years, maybe, right after the First World War, people we started to have food with much easy way to find food and go to the supermarket, and everybody started to have some fridge. But the main thing about fasting is that a thing that you can do every single day. And to be very honest and sincere, every single person in the world need to have at least 10, 12 hours fasting, because um, it's not evolutionary to eat in the time that you have to sleep.
Yeah.
So imagine the most ancient medicine that we have knowledge today is the Chinese medicine, like almost 10,000 years.
Yeah.
And the second one is the Indian medicine, the Ayurvedic, 7,000 years old. So imagine Chinese medicine, 10,000 years old. It's just a part of the the part of the time that human is here living, but 10,000 years old uh, is a lot.
Yeah.
So imagine that a person is living since the day one that they started the Chinese medicine. So this person have today 10,000 years old, okay? If is it
Uh-huh.
possible, of course. And if this person can teach us something, probably this person will say, you guys are eating too much and you guys are eating in a wrong period of time at the day, because it wasn't in any part of human existence to do good thing eating in like after 9 p.m. And if you go to a farm, and USA, you guys have lots of farms and lots of people live in countryside, it's very common to see that after a day of work and after the sun goes down, people go to have dinner and doesn't eat anything anymore. So we have to do this. And like imagine if you do like a 10, 12 hours intermittent fasting every single day, at least 7 hours you are sleeping. So it's very
Yeah.
easy. And if you go have a dinner early, and after you got up, you have like 1, 2 hours waiting for do a meal, you already have 12 hours. And when you are doing intermittent fasting, for at least 12 hours, you have to pay attention to the drinking and the eating, because the perfect fasting is just water. But you can have some coffee without sugar or without milk, just plain coffee, dark coffee, and some kind of teas. But I prefer just to do some
Water.
water, like 1 liter. So I put like half a liter of water, like very near my bed, and I take this water when I get up. And then 1 hour after, I drink 2 or 3 more um,
Tips.
as exactly. And then to break the fasting, I
Uh-huh.
always start with like some nutritional high density food. For example, some eggs.
Okay, so break the fast in drinking water with lemon, because I do this. Is wrong?
Lemon is very lime and lemon are very curious fruits because the amount of sugar is so low that we can say that are breaking the fasting. If you are a very strict person with fasting, we can put in this way. You have like the physiological fasting, so just water, and you have the metabolic fasting. The metabolic fasting, you can do the lemon, the lime, maybe even a small amount of glutamine, maybe something like this, to not spike the sugar in the blood, because this kind of fasting, the metabolic fasting, is more focused on to not give a
Spikes.
spike in the blood sugar and to maintain the insulin levels. So imagine your insulin is sleeping, just waiting for you to eat some carbs and to spike this blood sugar and to the insulin do what the insulin have to do in our body, because insulin is a very important hormone. But most of people eating every single day 5, 6, 7 meals, after 2 or 3 hours have a meal, or maybe always snacking something between meals. Actually is very common in USA and also in Brazil. Here is not common, but in Brazil and USA is very common to like snacking between meals.
Craving. Yeah.
So that's terrible. And in the long term, actually, medium long term, your insulin is starting to have high and always high. And the fasting is the best medicine to correct this. And even the fasting is amazing to prevent diabetes type 2. And
So let me ask you something very important.
please.
My daughter, sorry to interrupt you.
No problem.
My daughter, she was diagnosed with diabetes type 1 3 years ago. She's 17 years old. My husband reads a lot, and we've been taking ourselves and giving to her in the morning water. She doesn't do fasting, but we don't eat at night. Water with lemon or lime and 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to maintain the spikes.
Apple cider vinegar, the unpasteurized is the best one, and doesn't have any calories. And the lime and the lemon is very, very amount calories. Maybe a big lemon, you can have like 3 grams of carb. But the main thing about lime and lemon is that the impact of this carb is very low. So in USA, it's very common to pick up a product in supermarket and you read net carbs because it's the carb that impact the blood sugar. And lime and lemon doesn't have, so there is no problem with this. And diabetes type 1, it's autoimmune disease, and the person have to use insulin. But the fasting is very interesting because if the nutritionist and the doctors works together, the patient can use less insulin.
So with the fasting, you think can help the...
Yeah, but the fasting with type 1 diabetes, because it's a person that depends on the use
Insulin,
of
yeah.
insulin, it have to be like some lots of calculation and mathematics to assess the exactly grams of carb to use the insulin. And it's very good to introduce the fasting for your daughter, but with the prescription of a diet plan of a doctor and also a nutritionist. The doctor for the controlling the insulin and the nutritionist with the plan, the diet plan.
Okay, thank you. There's a lot to learn. Do
Yes.
you do like consultations online? How is your
Yeah.
work? How you see people?
Yeah, you can go to my Instagram. I have lots of social media, but most of the time I use more Instagram, about 500,000 followers. And on Instagram, in my biography,
Yeah.
you have a link, and you can click this link and you go straight to my secretary.
And I want to say thank you so much for being here today, for share all this amazing story of your life since a childhood. Share your strengths and your like weakness when you were a kid and everything you went through.
Was my pleasure, and I think one of the best podcasts that I ever did.
Thanks so much. You're gonna make me cry.
Thank you.
Guys, you had to listen to Café com Autismo. It's a very
Yeah.
nice.
And it's already translated in English, so you can hit
Amazing.
the button English.
Okay.
Coffee with autism.
Okay. Thank you so much, TonTon.
Thank you,
So
Syang.
good to meet you and talk to you today.
Yeah.
Have a blessed day and
You too.
enjoy. Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
I used to wake up